All right, so it's been a while. MashaAllah. Let's continue. In Matnul Izzi, in Sarf. We are still in Al-Mu'tal. Al-Mu'tal, yani defective, unstable root letters. We did Mu'tal Al-Fa. That's called Mithal, like Wasafa Yasifu. Now we're on Al-Mu'tal Al-Ain. It's the second root letter that is unstable. And that's called Ajwaf, hollow. Mithal means similar. Similar to a sound. Similar to a sound verb. Ajwaf is hollow because it's the middle root letter that is unstable. Like as if it's empty. And we're soon getting to an-naqis, inshallah, with the defective last letter or unstable. All right, we're in the defective middle letter. How far have we gotten? We've talked about three letters, like fa'ala, yani qala, ba'a. You remember root, this middle root letter, this ayn, is either going to be a wow or a ya in reality. It's never really an alif. It could have the pattern of fa'ala or fa'ila or fa'ula, but it's going to come out with an alif in the middle. So the middle vowel is not going to appear. We got past this and we started looking at mazidun fihi, having extra letters. Here, this is not extra letters. That's clear for you. Congratulations that that's clear for you. I think now it's clear for you. May Allah reward you and me for staying consistent and sticking to sticking to the program here. That's by the help of Allah. You know that. MashaAllah. إنه لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. So we went to talk about al-mazidu fihi. We saw the cases that Bismillah. We saw the cases of mazidun fihi that have i'tilal, which there's four of them. Remember, the pattern of af'ala and infa'ala and ifta'ala and istaf'ala. Infa'ala, af'ala, ifta'ala, and istaf'ala. We saw there ajaba. You know, ajaba, the wazn, the pattern of ajaba is af'ala. And for infa'ala, we saw inqada. For ifta'ala, we saw ikhtara. And for istaf'ala, we saw istaqama. And from there, we looked at the mabni lil maf'ul, passive voice. Yani, ajaba yujibu is the mudari'. Inqada yanqadu. Ikhtara yakhtaru. استقام يستقيم. That's مضارع. So we saw المبني للمفعول, passive voice, configured for the receiver. So it came out as ujiba. Ajaba became ujiba, was answered. Yujabu. And here we had a question. I had a question. Inqida or unqida? Because originally it's unfu'ila. But when all the transformation takes place, you wind up with a kasra on the qaf. Does the dhamma stay with the presence of the kasra, or does it go to a kasra? So I asked, and we opened Shadha al-Arf, very nice book to have if you can understand it. Important book. And he says in there, kasra, but you can say it with a dhamma. Inqida yunqadu, and ikhtira yukhtaru. As for the metin itself, there's a wow there. So I don't have the haraka to, I don't remember taking it at that time. What is that? Meaning, when you read the metin, as you probably saw, you say, Bismillah. You say, when qada. Uh, وإذا بنيتها للمفعول قلت أجيب يجاب واستقيم يستقام وانقيد. There's a wow there, so that I don't have something about that hamza there written or memorized also. وانقيد ينقاد واختير يختار. Okay. So we saw that. مبني للمفعول. We've completed that. Then the author wants to mention the command. The amr, he says, let's go back to the metin here. والأمر والأمر منها أجب أجيبا واستقم واستقم استقيما. So just sukoon here. But if you keep reading, you have to put a kasra here. And there's a kasra here in the printing, but there should be hamzatul wasl there. واستقم استقيما. And Sheikh Wissam used to say to us all the time that the people who print the sarf books don't know the rules of sarf. It's a general statement, of course. وانقد انقادا واختر اختارا وانقد انقادا واختر اختارا. So what I circled here is not in my copy. So the way I took the metin is the way I read it to you. And what I circled is not present in my copy. والأمر منها أجب أجيبا واستقم استقيما وانقد وانقد انقادا واختر اختارا. Okay, so what happened there? Let's take a look. أجب أجيبا استقم استقيما وانقد انقادا واختر اختارا. And we can take a look at what's there too that I circled. It's not in my copy. So, ajib, that's command. Respond. What's the maldi? Ajaba. What's the origin of ajaba? Ajwaba. What happened? قلبت الواو ألفا لتحركها في الأصل وانفتاح ما قبلها. يعني the wow flipped into an alif, long story short. So it became, يعني the fatha that was on the wow slid over to the jim, and then the wow flipped into an alif. So it became ajaba. Okay. From the maldi, you get the mudariya. Yujibu. What's the origin of that? Yujwibu. How did that happen? By the kasra sliding over to the jim and then the wow flipping into a ya. So yujwibu became yujibu. Okay. Now the command comes from the mudariya. So the mudariya comes from the maldi. The command comes from the mudariya. The command is ajib. How do we get there? Well, more specifically, here's the rule, don't forget. I'll write it in English for you. The command is taken from the here. I'll put this in Arabic. Mudari' majzoom. Mudari' majzoom. What majzoom means. You know there's rafa, nasb, jar, and jazm. That's from nahu. We're now in sarf. Nahu and sarf originally were one thing. Then, as time went on, the scholars sifted them apart, and they are still hinged at ports that you can't separate them. They're like one thing. Scholars managed to peel them apart. They still have some places where you cannot separate them. Mudari' majzoom means not marfu', not mansub. Yani, how's mudari' majzoom? Don't you say, for example, lam tadrib, if that's sukun there, because of lam tadrib, you won't hit. So how do you get the command here from here? First of all, establish here that the pronoun is anta. Lam tadrib anta. Uh, we're going to remove this. We don't need the jazm, lam. We don't need it. We just needed it to put the verb into the state of jazm. Now we got the verb in the state of jazm. We don't need lam anymore. And we don't want the ta. This ta is for the mudariya. That's called harf mudara'a. Harf mudara'a. So we don't want that. I'm going to remove that. So what's left here is starts with sukoon. You can't start with a sukoon. So then we need to summon a vowel. So let us summon a vowel, which is going to be kasra. So it became here idrib. That's it. We're done. So, okay. How did we get ajib from ajaba yujibu? Let's see. So ajaba was originally ajwaba. Became in mudariya form yujibu. Okay. Yujibu was originally yujwibu. We want the pronoun enta here. So we're going to have to change it to tujibu. Now, if we introduce the jazim, lem, this jazim will execute its powers on the verb. Going to put the verb into a state of jazms. It's going to become mejzooms, and the sign of jazm is sukun. Because لأنه صحيح الآخر, because the ending of the verb is sound. A ba is a sound letter, not harf illah. So then the sign of jazm is sukun. However, the letter before the ba has a sukun, and you can't have two sukuns in a row. So then we're going to remove the first one. Uh, so you're gonna remove the first one. So then Jeem's gonna connect directly to the bat. So you'd say lam tujib. Oh, wait, oh, wait. What happened to this Hamza here in the Maldi, in the Mudari? Where's that Hamza? It's not there. It's omitted. But when you make the Amr, it comes back. So the command you're gonna say, well, for the command, we don't need lem. We have our Mudari verb now. We also don't want this harf mudara here. Okay, so what we have left is jib. Now, why don't we bring a hamzatul wasl? Why don't we summon a vowel here? And we don't need to. The jim already has a vowel. If the first letter already has a vowel, then there's no need to summon a vowel. I mean by that to bring a hamzatul wasl and najli bahamzatan or produce a vowel or conjure up a vowel. Instead, what's going to happen here is for this wazn af'ala, the hamza is going to come back to the amr. So you're going to say ajib, and that's how we got to that command there. So you're talking to someone. You silenced the Wahhabi. He closed his mouth instead of saying the truth. Because it's obvious. So you tell him, Ajib, answer. Then he's going to close his lips tighter. Okay. So that's done. That's the first command there. Ajib, ajiba. Then he mentioned ajiba. In ajiba, the ya came back. Okay, we know why this hamza came back here, because it goes away in the mudari, but it comes back in the amr. This hamza is present in the maldi for this pattern, af'ala. The hamza is in the maldi, it vanishes for the mudari, and it comes back for the amr. So it's there now, fine. Uh, but the ya came back. MashaAllah. The ya came back, and why? Because the reason to remove it is gone. What was the reason to remove that ya? The fact that the letter after the ya had a sukoon. The ya itself has a sukoon, and the letter after it had a sukoon. And then the rule is you remove the first one. When those two sukoons meet, remove the first one. In this case, though, the ba has a haraka. So there's no need to remove the ya, so the ya comes back. Here, this ya made a comeback. Why is that fatha there? Why didn't we say, wait, the mudari is taken, the amr, the command is taken from the مضارع مجزوم. And didn't we say that the sign of jazm was a sukoon on that bat? So why is there fatha there now? There has to be a fatha there now because an alif connected to the back of it. Well, what's that alif there? Uh, what's this alif here? Sister Lisa, can you tell me? Sister Kawada, can you tell me? What's that alif there? 10, 9, or anyone. But no, just you two. 8, or someone whose name is iPhone. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. You probably know, you just want to be sure and you're going to let me say it. That's how I'm going to not feel bad. 1. That's pronoun there. Pronoun for 2. Dual. Damir. This alif here. So this sukoon can't be there because there's an alif here. Now you can ask a question if you're following and you don't know the answer. Then your question would be, where's the sign of jazm then? Abu Hussam, do you know where's the sign of jazm in yani if that verb were mudari', what's the sign of jazm that's being copied in this command?
Um, for Ajiba,
Yes.
um,
Because the rule is the fi'l amr ma'khudhun min al-mudari' al-majzoom. The command verb, the imperative verb is taken. Its form is taken from a mudari' verb that's majzoom. So if that were a mudari' verb, where's the sign of jazm?
um,
Or anyone
you,
else also? Yeah, go
you,
ahead.
usually it's removed alama for
Mm-hmm.
the
Which one?
jazm.
Mm,
فضل.
yeah. No, I want you.
Uh,
Go ahead, please.
um, so let me understand your question. Maybe I'm not clear. Ajiba, so you're looking for, repeat your question before the
Yeah.
concern.
My question is, uh, this command here, ajiba,
No,
it is taken from a mudari' verb. Its form is based on a mudari' verb,
no,
which would be yujiba.
UG, no,
Yani just remove the hamza and put the mudari' letter. Then would be yujiba.
no.
If that were majzoom, then where's the sign of jazm?
It, it has the absence
Mm.
of the, usually in duals it's alif noon, so it would be an absence of a letter.
Yeah,
Uh,
which letter?
the noon is
Yes,
usually
the letter. Hakada. The noon. The noon. Hadfun noon. The answer is hadfun noon. That's alamatul jazm. Jazm has 3 signs. Sukun, hadfu, harfi al-illah, and hadfun noon. And it's possible then to say jazm has two signs, sukun and hadf. But sometimes it's a hadfun noon and sometimes it's hadfu harf al-illah. So yes, yani this goes back to al-amthilatul khamsah, the five models, which are called in al-ajurumiyah al-af'alul khamsah, the five verbs. Those ones in mudariya form that end with noon because of the attachment of an alif or a waw or a ya. So you say in mudariya, you say yadribun, tadribun, um, tadribin, and tadriban, and yadriban. Those are the five verbs. Al-amthilatul khamsa, the five models. That's marfu'. The sign of rafa here is the noon. Sign of rafa is thubutun noon. And the sign of nasb or jazm for such a verb is hadfun noon, omission of the noon. وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا in Surah Al-Baqarah. If you don't do it and you won't do it, so the verb was yujibani. Yujibani. Those two respond. Then we bring the jazim or yani tujibani because we want the pronoun to be antuma. Tujibani. You two respond. Then we bring the jazim. It enacts its powers of jazm upon the verb, thereby removing the noon. Lam tujiba. You two did not respond. Now we have our mudari' that's majzoom, from which we shall model the command. We actually don't need the jazm anymore. He did his job, and we don't need the mudari' letter because we don't want a mudari' verb following the Bistri way. But for this pattern, the Hamza comes back. So we're going to bring that Hamza back. And there it is. Ajiba. That's the command for two. In my copy, doesn't go to ajibu, but it's going to be the same talk. Meaning, why would the author just say ajiba and not ajibu? Let's take a look at the method here. The way it's printed here, it says, wal amru minha ajib, ajiba, ajibu. Now, I'm not saying there's no version like this. I'm just commenting on my copy that I took. Ajibu is not there. Hmm. Yeah. So ajibu's not there. Istaqimu's not there. Inqadu's not there. Ikhtaru's not there. Assuming that the author did say it this way, wal amru minha ajib ajiba, then why not mention ajibu? Because the goal at this point is just to show you why the ya comes back. Ajib, the ya is gone. Ajiba, the ya is back. Because the bat no longer has a sukoon. And when you say ajibu, it's the exact same thing. The ya would come back. because there's a vowel on the ba, which is the dhamma. So you don't have two sukoons in a row anymore. So there's no need to remove the ya. So there's no and that's clear. So there's no need to for the author to write it down there. As if to say also at this point you can follow. If you reach this point, you should know what comes next. This method is really nice. It's very, very, very systematic. I am impressed with the systemization of the author here. I always have been, mashallah. Okay, so then استقم استقيما انقاد اختر اختارا انقد. That's command taken from mudari' majzoom. What was the mudari' in the first place? So it was, here's the maldi, inqada, then the mudari' was yanqadu, but we want the pronoun to be anta, so we're going to say tanqadu instead of yanqadu. Tanqadu anta, so that we can get a command out of there. Because you're going, when you use the command verb, you are addressing someone. Yani address. Khitab, that means you. You is the name of the one you're addressing. Inqada. So tanqadu anta, and then if we bring the jazim, then the sign of jazm is going to be sukun on the dal, but there's sukun in front of the dal. So we need to remove the first one. So then that's it. Then, oh, sorry, it's not it. So then, also we need to, I forgot to remove the mudari'at letter because we don't want a mudari'at. But when we did that, we left the first letter with a sukun, and you can't start with a sukun. So therefore, we must conjure up a vowel. So we conjure up a vowel. So it became inqad. That's the command. And also we had istaqim as a command. Oh, and inqada. So when you bring the alif for two, then the alif's going to come back to the verb. Inqada. For one, you say inqad. For two, you'd say, or yeah, for two, you'd say inqada. The alif comes back due to the lack of a reason to remove it. Hmm. Istaqim and istaqima. So here's the mudari. Yastaqim. Yastaqimu. And we need the pronoun to be anta, so we're going to make it tastaqimu. Then we're going to bring our jazim lam tastaqim. We got two sukoons in a row, so one of them has to go. Lam tastaqim. Okay, now we got the form that we want. We don't need the jazm anymore, and we don't want the mudari'at letter anymore. Okay, But if we do so, it leaves the first letter with a sukoon. So then we must summon a vowel. So it becomes istaqim. And then for two, istaqima, the ya will come back because the meme will no longer have a sukoon. There won't be two sukoons in a row anymore. Istaqima. Then ikhtar, choose. Ikhtar. Someone told me a dua. They said this is a dua. Allahumma ikhtar li. Oh Allah, choose for me. Allahumma ikhtar li. Ikhtar. So what happened? The mudari was yakhtaru. But that's huwa. We want the pronoun to be anta. So we're going to say takhtaru anta. Then we bring the jazim. Makes the end of the verb have sukoon. But before that, there's another sukoon. Can't have two sukoons in a row. So you remove the first one. Then remove the mudari letter, but leaves the first letter with sukoon. So you summon a vowel. So it becomes ikhtar. And if you want to do it for two, you say ikhtara. The alif will come back. So that's all of them. Yes, yes. Wallahu a'lam. Any question?
No, عندي سؤال يا
Yes.
أستاذ. Is knowing the that Hamza, that the first letter, if it's a dhamma or if it's a kasra, is that sama'i or is there a rule?
There's a rule, which
Yeah,
is
I'm sorry. I'm sure you mentioned it, but I'm just not thinking about it.
uh so yeah. The Hamza will follow the first voweled letter. The Hamza will follow the first voweled letter. So you say, for example, udkhul. First voweled letter is this kha. Uh, and you say ustukhrija. It was withdrawn. It was withdrawn. Ustukhrija. There's a dhamma here on this hamza because the first voweled letter is a dhamma. Otherwise, it's going to be a kasra. So you say idhab, go. You say istaghfir, repent, etc. Otherwise, it's going to be a kasra. If the first voweled letter is a fatha or a kasra, this hamzatul wasl, this conjured vowel is going to have a kasra. If the first voweled letter is a dhamma, it'll be a dhamma. That's the rule.
That's the first vowel letter in the mudari.
Ibn Hisham said Allah did not create hamzatul wasl for the mudari'. Yani there's no hamzatul wasl in mudari'. Hamzatul wasl is in Maldi and Amr, not in Mudari.
Naam. I mean, so like in the example, istukhrij, in that example, you mentioned that the dhamma is because of the dhamma on the first, on the ta, on the first
Yes.
vowel letter.
Yes.
So, uh, then, so in the mudari, that would be, yustakhrij.
Yustakhraj.
So, naam. So is it because of the dhamma on that? Yeah. Is the dhamma gets placed on the,
La, in that case, yustakhraj. Yustakhraj. There's a dhamma here and a fatha here because that's how you make mudari mabni lil maf'ul.
no.
That's it. What's the rule for making mudari mabni lil maf'ul? Put a dhamma on the first letter and a fatha before the last letter.
No.
That's it. That's why there's dhamma there on that yet. Unless I didn't understand your question.
Yeah, I'm not understanding something very well because the how do we, so you mentioned, so we from the Maldi to the Mudari, then to the Majzum with the, by putting the lam, the particle lam in front of the Mudari,
Mm-hmm.
removing the alama of the Mudari and the
Let me
placing.
stop you really quick. Ustukhrij, that's a maldi, that's not a command.
Okay, no, no. So when we remove, so my question, so maybe inshallah, I could text you. I don't want to hold the class up
No, no, it's
anymore.
okay. Please go ahead. I thought that's where you were going there.
So the, so okay, so let, in using an example, so it would either be a dhamma or be a kesra for the amr, right? For the
Yes,
first, for the,
correct.
okay. So now we know you're
Wait,
saying,
not just for there, that's broader rule. Not just for the amr.
okay,
Hamzatul wasl follows the first voweled letter. That's a rule.
non.
Not
And
not
so,
for amr in particular.
okay. And
So
so,
if the first voweled letter is a dhamma, it's gonna have a dhamma. Or if it's a fatha or a kasra, it's gonna have a kasra.
and that's the first vowel letter on which form?
Ustukhrija, this is al-madi al-mabni lil-maf'ul.
Okay. Okay. So on that form, we look at the uh we look at the vowel in the first, we look at the vowel in the first letter on that, from that form first to know how we end up with the, which, how the pronunciation goes on a hamzatul wasl, if a fatha or, I mean a kasra or a dhamma.
Yeah, yani, it's not special to this. Not special to this form. Bismillah. So ustukhrija, the mabni lil-fa'il is istakhraja. Istakhraja. How you make it mabni lil-maf'ul? By giving a dhamma. Uh, uh, the first voweled letter being a dhamma, by the first voweled letter being a dhamma, and the letter before the last having a kasra. That's how you make a verb mabni lil maf'ul. So in this case, what was a kasra in the mabni lil fa'il is going to become a dhamma because the first voweled letter has a dhamma. So that's the rule for hamzatul wasl.
Barakallahu fi.
Amin wafiq. You can follow up if you want.
What I'll do is, I'll review it because obviously it's a gap in something I understood. So I don't want to hold up. So I have to make sure I'm not asking something that's was clarified in the past. So I need to review inshallah to make sure.
Okay, inshallah.
Barakallahu feek.
Ameen wa feek.